Seminar number 19, Manuscript Development. I already wrote the paper. That's why it's so hard to get the right data. Looks like this investigator is working backward. It's not surprising this investigator is having such a hard time completing the study. Whenever I sit down to draft a manuscript, I always remember the wisdom of Michelle Byros, the former editor-in-chief of Academic Emergency Medicine. She's a great mentor, and she really wanted to help investigators get their work published. I remember her advice to authors. Write to share your message. Don't compromise your message just to get your manuscript published in a particular journal. Be honest, be accurate, and if you write to share your own message, your manuscript will eventually find its home. Follow the journal instructions during the submission process. Proofread for grammar, for accuracy, and for logic, and be a responsible author. In her experience as editor-in-chief, far too many authors got their manuscripts rejected for not proofreading responsibly or for not following the submission instructions. Some might ask why that can be a big deal. Can't grammar or other types of errors be corrected after a manuscript's been accepted, especially for a manuscript with a great bottom-line message that will change clinical practice forever? Well, if a submitted manuscript contains many errors, no matter how excellent the study is, errors in the manuscript make reviewers and editors wonder if the poor level of attention paid to the written report reflects the level of attention given to the study during data collection or analysis. So make sure your submission is your best effort. Let's talk about other avoidable manuscript pitfalls. The first part of your work that readers will notice is the title. So don't have a misleading message in your title. Make it accurate. For instance, an animal study that does not include that fact in the title misleads readers scanning the journal table of contents. So make sure your title is accurate and add some excitement to it and make it reflect what your work was about. Nobody wants to read a manuscript with a title that is too vague or too boring. So in crafting your title, look at the title from the perspective of a reader looking at a journal. If the title is not accurate or exciting enough from that perspective, that's a good clue the title needs to be changed. Sometimes a manuscript abstract includes results that differ from the manuscript, or measures that differ from the manuscript, or even a conclusion that differs from the manuscript. This usually occurs when a meeting abstract is appended to a manuscript. Editors will notice this, so make sure you modify the abstract appropriately. Don't just tack on your meeting abstract to your manuscript. The meeting abstract can be adjusted and reshaped once you've gotten feedback on your study from your peers and colleagues after attending a meeting. Pitfalls that can sink an introduction include the following. The study objective is not clearly stated. The introduction functions as a long literature review, or the lead-up is not compelling. Make your introduction organized, short, and to the point. Remember, the heart of your study and your final report is your methods section. Common reasons why a manuscript gets rejected include the following. The basic study design is not identified. Critical procedural details are not mentioned. Statistical strategies are not explained. There's no mention of sample size calculation, or there's no mention of IRB oversight. A study that follows the scientific method should be repeatable, and readers should be able to reconstruct your study after reading your methods section. So make sure you've included enough detail for reviewers to assess your study fairly and to allow future readers to understand your study completely. Errors in how the results are reported worry editors about the level of attention paid to the study itself, so be careful with your results. Disorganized results are more problematic than accurate results that are less than overwhelming. Some pitfalls when results are reported include the following. Reported results are inconsistently formatted. Not all enrolled study subjects are accounted for. Percentages add up to greater than 100%. Tables and graphs are too busy, or inappropriate statistics are used. So make sure you've proofread your results before submitting your final manuscript. An effective discussion will interpret the findings in the first sentence and then provide appropriate context for the study. So be wary of these pitfalls. When primary findings are not identified immediately, when the discussion wanders, is too loose, becomes too much of a literature review and does not really place study findings in the appropriate context. When authors overstate significance of findings, that is really problematic for reviewers and for editors. Make sure you do not speculate excessively. And be careful. A major pitfall in many manuscripts is when the conclusion is inconsistent with the objective. So after you've completed your manuscript, read the concluding sentence, go back and read your objective sentence. They should be closely linked. If there's inconsistency between the two, some rewriting needs to be done. Don't forget to include a limitations section. Far too many simply state they wish they had a larger sample size, but that is not what editors are looking for. All studies have limitations. No one has ever completed a perfect study. So editors are looking for real design weaknesses. So be honest about them. Make lemonade out of lemons, and use this section to set up your next study. For instance, for a retrospective study, one can acknowledge that the retrospective design was indeed a limitation, but every effort was made to maximize the truth of the findings with blinded abstractors who were well trained, who were monitored, and they had a terrific inter-rater reliability score. And a future study will then be prospective in design. That is making lemonade out of lemons in a limitation section. Since scholarship is communal, I think it is worthwhile to acknowledge those unsung heroes without whom the work could not have been done. So think about including an acknowledgments section in each of your manuscripts, whether it is your research assistants who were not offered authorship, or some of the clinicians working in the arena who helped enroll subjects in your study, or even your patients. Acknowledge all those without whom your work would not have been done. So in summary, every completed project deserves publication. It is unfair to the subjects and it is unfair to the IRB committee if you complete a study and the manuscript is not submitted for publication. The IRB application sets up your final manuscript because so much language in the IRB application should end up in your final work. The IRB should lead to the abstract, should lead to the poster, which will lead to the final version of your work, which is the manuscript submitted to a journal. Follow the successful models of others. Look at other models that have been published and look at their examples and see what's been published successfully. That will provide you with some helpful information and advice if you're stuck with writing a particular section or stuck with organization or formatting a particular part of your paper. And say yes to peer review invitations. One of the best ways to learn how to write is to review the work of others and learn how the peer review process works. In the next seminar, we'll discuss how we can assess our own scholarship activities.